In the least surprising news of the day, DJ Lagway is the Florida Gator that I'm most excited to see in the spring game this weekend.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free reviews in the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Monday. I am Brandon Olsen. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. And the spring game for the Florida Gators, the orange and blue game, is this Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. It's on ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus. Okay? If you're a Locked On Gators insider, which, by the way, a lot of you have become Locked On Gators insiders lately, and I very much appreciate that. If you want to join that, go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGators. The link is in the description below as well. Or if you're listening on audio, it's in that description as well. But Subtext will be chatting during the game, and in the following days, we'll be getting exclusive content there. But the player that I'm most excited to watch, which I think everybody is most excited to watch, is DJ Lagway. Like, how can DJ Lagway not be the player that you're most excited to watch? The top-ranked quarterback in the 2024 class is a Florida Gator. And this is going to be the first time that he's playing in a public setting wearing a Florida Gators uniform. First time he's playing in a public setting that everyone gets to see. Like, how could you not be in love with that right there? Like, it's awesome. It's just sick. We will be going live after the game, by the way, as well, on the Locked On Gators YouTube channel. And then the audio will come out after that. But, I mean, DJ Lagway being the top-ranked quarterback is just – I still can't believe he's a Florida Gator. I got to be honest with you. I'm still kind of like, this is weird to me because we're just not used to that, right? But, hey, he's here. I also will say, again, I will reiterate this. I need to figure out how to word this properly. I think that Billy Napier's plan this year was to bring in Colorado State's Clay Millen to be QB2 if Lagway wasn't ready. Okay? Again, it's what we saw with Jack Miller III coming in 2 years ago. I don't think that he brought in Clay Millen to be like, oh, like DJ Lagway is going to be behind you. But if DJ Lagway is not ready, you have an experienced player on the bench there. That makes the spring game that much more important for DJ Lagway because you have the opportunity to prove that you're ready to run an offense in rhythm, keep it on schedule, on time, on target, and make some plays and solidify yourself as QB2. Again, I feel like I have to repeat this because last time I mentioned this, people were trying to chop my head off for it. I think DJ Lagway should be QB2. I think that Billy Napier's approach to this was to bring in Clay Millen in case DJ Lagway was not ready. So for DJ Lagway, this is just your time to prove that you are indeed ready to be QB2. And again, we watched DJ Lagway's, if you only watched his highlights, that's fine. Because if you only watched his highlights, you kind of got a pretty good glimpse at what was Willis's offense last year with DJ Lagway. A lot of it was DJ Lagway needing to scramble around and either make plays with his legs, actually running the ball, or extend plays with his legs and then have to find a receiver downfield. There was very little on rhythm or in rhythm, on time, on schedule throws because his offensive line at Willis was terrible, which again is very common in high school. College offensive lines suck. NFL offensive lines suck. It's very tough to have a good pass blocking offensive line at the high school level. And so we never really saw DJ Lagway play behind one at Willis. And so I do think that the most important thing for DJ Lagway during this game is showing that you can run the offense on schedule. That's an important part, especially when we've been hearing so much about how good the defense has been playing during these scrimmages and how they've been playing during this whole spring. It's been the defense is awesome. The defense is awesome. This is your time to show like, oh, the defense is playing great. Make some plays. Okay. Move the ball consistently. Do that. Also, I think it's very important to acknowledge this part about having DJ Lagway in a Florida Gators uniform. Graham Mertz last year was one of the most conservative passers in college football. He had one of the highest completion percentage in the country. He did not turn the ball over. He had 3 picks, and all 3 of them were hit. They all hit receivers. And so he took care of the ball. It was great. One of the shortest average depth of targets in the entire country. Okay. DJ Lagway, big arm. Like, dude has a cannon attached to him, right? And chicks dig the long ball, right? Chicks dig the long ball. Florida Gators fans dig the long ball. Like we all want to see you just uncork it. That was the thing that we did love about Anthony Richardson, right? I don't know why I just went full what is it? The pig from Looney Tunes. I can't remember his name. But I just did that. But chicks dig the long ball. Our fans dig the long ball. Like, I want to see DJ Lagway just yeet one down to Aiden Mizell, Tank Hawkins. There's a lot of speed at receiver. Like I will fully admit, experience-wise, there's not much at receiver for the Florida Gators. Proven ability, there's not much at receiver for the Florida Gators. Speed, we know you got a lot there. So I'm very interested to see DJ Lagway just let it fly. I don't care who you have, starters, backups, no matter who you have, there's speed at receiver for the Florida Gators. So I want to see DJ Lagway just let it fly deep downfield and just test this defense. It's a defense that gave up a lot of big plays last year. DJ Lagway can scramble around with his legs and then throw the ball deep downfield. We saw him do that a lot at Willis. Do in the spring game. Like that's what I want to see. That's one of the reasons I'm so excited to see DJ Lagway in the spring game, because I just want to see him just float let me get like a 50-yard pass. Okay, like in 50 air yards. Let me get that. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for a lot. I know that it's probably going to be a pretty ugly game. Spring games usually are pretty ugly. If the offense scores a ton, it's not usually because the offense is so high octane. It's usually because the defense isn't in place. If the offense doesn't score, it's not usually because the defense is so stifling. It's usually because the offense is not in place yet. We saw it last year. Last year, everyone was like, oh man, defense is going to look crazy. Look at the pressure they're generating. It's terrible. And the offense, which looked terrible in the spring game, was good during the year. So I'm not expecting a good football game here. I'm expecting, and what I'm going to be doing, and the Locked On Gators insiders will see this, is that we're going to be looking at specific players, look how they improved from last year, or if it's their first year in Gainesville, look how they played this year, or look how they played during the spring game, so that we can have some more reasonable expectations. It's an evaluation and entertainment perspective here for the spring game. And that's what we're looking for. So I'm not looking for a good football game. And if you are, you're going to be sorely disappointed. But there's still a lot to take away from the spring game. It's just don't expect, a quality game here. We are going to look at the defensive side for the next segment, because there is a player that I got my eyes on. I'm very excited to see. But first, a quick word from LinkedIn. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place for you to hire. It gives you access to professionals that you can't find literally anywhere else. Yeah. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive for you. Hiring is easy when you have over 1 billion professionals on there. A lot of quality candidates, right? It's so easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. And LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire and properly go through the process. So they're constantly finding or creating ways to make the process easier. And they even launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process that much quicker for you. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And the next player that I really do want to watch, and he's probably one of the players that we're going to break down a little bit with the Locked On Gators Insiders, which again, links in the description below. Join subtext.com/LockedOnGators. It's 2 weeks free, $5 a month after that. So the 2 weeks free, you'll get some of this content and you'll get to decide if you want to keep it. But it's TJ Searcy. And TJ Searcy is someone that last season I was impressed with. I thought that he did a pretty good job at Jack filling in whenever he was given the opportunity, whether that was just rotating in because there were injuries or just when he actually broke into the consistent lineup. He's someone that I'm very excited to watch this year, have a year in the strength and conditioning system or program, hopefully see the results of the new strength and conditioning program. But from all accounts, from everybody, whether you're talking coaches, players, media, no matter who it is, even the recruits that are going to visit campus, they're talking about number 19, TJ Searcy, right? I think it was On 3 posted from the second scrimmage that happened on Saturday. I forgot which player it was, but he's like, hey, that number 19 is a good player, made some good plays. I know that during the most recent scrimmage on Saturday, he batted a ball up and it popped up and they got picked. So he wasn't the one that picked it, but he batted the ball up. And that's something that if you know defensive line play or you know edge play, if you're not winning your battle on that rep, get your hands up when you think the quarterback's going to throw it. Cloud the throwing lane. If you're not getting the pressure, get your hands up, cloud the throwing lane. JJ Watt made a living off of that. He had it's like 20 sacks, 20 batted passes year, once or twice. It was ridiculous, right? TJ Searcy, I'm not saying he's going to do that, but by all accounts, he's taken some pretty big strides and he's had a strong spring. Let's see you do that in a game setting where we all get to see that, right? And again, this is one of those positions where I'm going to take it with a grain of salt, but there's still an evaluation to be had there. Like I'm not going to be too focused on if he's winning his battle or like if he's getting the pressure. I'm not too focused on that because Florida's offensive line right now probably not going to be the full offensive line combo that we see on opening game, right? August 31st. Whether that's because of injuries or just trying out new combinations. We don't even know who's going to be going against who in this spring. And we don't know what team TJ Searcy is going to be on. We don't know which tackles he's going to be going against. So I'm not even too focused on, are you generating pressures? I'm more focused on how are you handling your battle? Like, how are you approaching this? What's your pass rush plan here? I know he's going to play I know he's going to at least put in effort against the run. And I'm pretty confident he's going to find some success setting the edge there. Okay. As a pass rusher, what's going to be your plan? He had a swipe that he brought out last year, or that he used last year. He used it in high school too. So it's not that he introduced it last year. But he had the 2-hand swipe. I want to see you build upon that. 2-hand swipe. Are you going to bring out a spin? Probably not. Are you going to bring out a long arm? Hopefully. Are you going to try to bull rush? Hopefully. I want to see your pass rush plan here. That's what I want to see. Whether or not it works fully, We'll see. Because again, these are things that you need to go through a process and you need to develop these moves. But you can't just have one move. You got to have a couple. So the two-hand swipe, we know you can do it. What else are you going to bring? And that's what I'm looking for a lot from TJ Searcy. Also from a schematic standpoint of things. For the Florida Gators, as long as Austin Armstrong, Ron Roberts, Patrick Toney, anybody from that tree or anybody from a modern defensive system, your jack linebacker, your stand-up edge rusher is going to drop in coverage. You may hate it. I may hate it. I don't hate dropping a jack into coverage. I hate dropping a jack into coverage like 25% of the time. That's way too much for me. Just want to throw that one out there. Especially if it's someone like Princely, who we know Princely can't play in coverage. What are we doing here? But your jack is always going to drop into coverage at least a few times a game. With the athletes that the Florida Gators have been recruiting, they're looking for verified testing times. We've seen that. They're looking for verified speed. They're looking for clear length, like height, weight, speed. That's what they want. The athletic freaks. They want how you can just basically Madden. Like you're just like, yeah, you're tall, you're heavy, you're fast. Get on my team. That's what they're looking for. So with the athletes that they've been bringing, and the athletes that they're bringing on the edge specifically, I think that long term, the plan that they're going for is have two guys that can stand up on the edge basically at any given time and leave it up to the offense to decide or to figure out who's dropping into coverage, who's rushing. Because, and you can do that fine. Like, let's say you have Cam Jackson at the nose, Joey Slackman at the 3-tech or the big end, whatever you want to call it. And then on the edges, you've got TJ Searcy and LJ McCray, both standing up on the edges. And it's still the same thing. It's still the hybrid 4-2-5. It's just you got two guys standing up. You could call it a 2-4-5 if you want. I don't give a damn. Okay? It's still the hybrid 4-2-5. You have both of those guys standing up on the edges, then you leave it up to the offense to go, oh, who's going to drop back in this set where they're both standing up? Because when one has their hand in the dirt, you're pretty confident that they're not dropping back, just because it's really hard to drop back from your hand in the dirt and be effective, like to do it quickly, because that's one of the big selling points, is to do it quickly. So I think that eventually they want to have two stand-up edge rushers that they could drop back and just constantly make you wonder who's dropping, who's rushing, and just add another extra layer for an offense to try to go. And so I want to see how TJ Searcy performs in coverage, because last year we saw him do it a bit, but it was so sporadic that we don't really know how he performed in coverage too consistently, because he didn't do it consistently. Simple as that. So I'm very curious to watch how he plays. I don't necessarily care if TJ Searcy generates any pressures, gets a pick. I don't care. I want to know what your pass rush plan is going to be, and when you're in coverage, are you getting to your spot quickly? That's what I want to see from TJ Searcy. And we are about to talk about an offensive player. Yeah, an offensive player to wrap up today's show. But first, quick word from a couple sponsors. To wrap up today's show, we are talking about Roderick Kerney. Yeah, Rod Kerney is a player that when he was coming out of high school, I was a massive fan of his. Initially committed to Florida State, then flipped to Florida. And again, I remember pounding the table of just like, I want this kid playing. I don't care where you put him. Get him on the field. That is still my stance with Rod Kerney. We know that in high school, he was a guard. Then he got to Gainesville, and they moved him to center. Spring game last year at center was bad. Just going to call a spade a spade. Two things about that. One was playing with a wrist injury. Two was his first real game situation, snapping, or in air quotes if you're listening, real game situation, snapping the ball, like a timed game that's on TV and in the public and people get to see it. It was bad. But again, first time snapping in game situations and playing with a banged up wrist, which obviously is going to impact you as an offensive lineman. For Rod Kerney this year in the spring game, will he play guard? Will he play center? Will he play both? My guess is going to be that we see him at both, because especially with them still trying to figure out what the 5 offensive lineman combination is going to be, I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice to not at least give Rod Kerney a shot at guard. I know that a lot of people on Florida Gators Twitter are very Rod Kerney should start at center. No. Just want to throw that one out there. No. And honestly, at that point, I don't care what happens in the spring game. Jake Slaughter could play a terrible spring game, and Rod Kerney could look like Jason Kelsey plus Nick Mangold plus Kevin Mawai. I don't care. Because we have game film last year of Jake Slaughter playing very well at center. That's going to matter more. So I don't care what happens in the spring game there. But I do care about Rod Kerney playing well. I would like to see him at guard, because first off, when he was coming out of high school, he played guard. It was the position he played, and he looked so freaking good at it. Like, he was tremendous. And I've not been shy. I want him on the field this fall. Based on any film that we've been able to see, any clips we've been able to see, anything that we saw from high school, I want Rod Kerney on the field this fall. I think he's going to be a really good offensive lineman. So if he can play well in the spring, whether that's at guard or at center or at both spots, I do think that he can kind of force the coaching staff to get him on the field. Whether he's a starter or a rotational player, I think that he can kind of force the coaching staff's hand there. I don't want to see him rotate at center. I want to say that one. Center is the only spot that I don't want to see rotation at. Has nothing to do with Rod Kerney, has nothing to do with Jake Slaughter. Has everything to do with consistency at center, gives you consistency on the offensive line. They are the primary communicators. They are the ones who get to tell the offensive line what their blocking assignments are. They're the ones that communicate with the center more. They do that. I want consistency there. But Rod Kerney, whether he's playing center or guard at the spring game or both, I don't care. If he plays well, he can force his way at least into the rotation. And that's really, truly, genuinely all I want to see. Because when you look at who the Florida Gators have, and I know Bryce Lovett has also reportedly had a very strong spring, pushing for even a starting spot at guard. Sure. But you got a lot of guys that you can give the opportunities to. Let me see Kerney Harris. Let me see Bryce Lovett. Let me see Rod Kerney. Let me see Damian George. Let me see anybody you have at guard. Hell, let me see Noel Portniagan. I don't care. Just figure out the offensive line. And if that means, hey, Rod Kerney's at guard, Kerney Harris is at guard, Damian George and Bryce Lovett rotating in, then so be it. If that means that Kerney Harris and Damian George start with Rod Kerney and Bryce Lovett rotating in, so be it. If that means Bryce Lovett and Damian George are ending up to be your best options at guard and Kerney Harris and Rod Kerney have to rotate in, so be it. I don't care. But Rod Kerney is someone that I've been very excited for since his high school days. I was excited for last spring game and was very disappointed that he played poorly, and 2, was not healthy. And I word those separately, because I don't think that I don't think that you can just write it off as, oh, he didn't play well because he was banged up. He just wasn't getting in proper positioning for most of the time with his lower half too, let alone his upper half. So I'm very curious to see him this year in this spring game with a quarterback that's back for year 2. So that's going to play a part. I want everybody to know that. That plays a part in your offensive line success, is having a quarterback there for year 2, getting comfortable with that quarterback, knowing what he can and can't do in the pocket and what you have to do as an offensive lineman. It all plays in. I just want to see Rod Kerney play because I think Rod Kerney might be my favorite offensive line recruit that I've ever watched. That I've watched, not all of all time, whatever, but that I've actually watched while working in media. I think Rod Kerney might be my favorite. So I want to see him play. I want to see him play well, but I want to see him play, and I want to see him be a part of this evaluation process. And we're probably going to spend some time looking at Rod Kerney also for the Locked On Gators Insiders, and obviously DJ Lagway is going to be there. Come on now. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free reviews in the podcast and on YouTube. We will be back tomorrow. Talk more Florida Gators spring game. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33, and I will see you all next time.